Let's be honest, when most of us think about Europe, we're not picturing the daily grind or the struggles of ordinary people. Instead, we imagine a continent straight out of a travel magazine, full of charm, romance, and effortless style. You see the postcard, sipping espresso at a sun-drenched Parisian cafe, gliding along Amsterdam's canals on a bicycle, or standing in awe before the timeless grandeur of Rome's Colosseum, surrounded by the hum of excited tourists. It's a vision of Europe that feels almost magical, a place where every day is a scene from a movie. This is the Europe of high-speed trains whisking you from city to city, of families enjoying long, leisurely vacations on the sunlit beaches of Spain, and of universal healthcare that promises security and peace of mind. It's a continent that, from the outside, seems to have mastered the art of living well, a place where everything just works. But let's peel back that glossy surface for a moment. The postcard image is just one side of the story, carefully curated for visitors and dreamers alike. Zoom out, and a very different picture emerges. Across the continent, angry farmers are blocking city streets with their tractors, demanding fair treatment. In Berlin and beyond, protesters wave banners and chant slogans, while riot police stand guard in front of some of Europe's most iconic and historic buildings. Beneath the calm, postcard-perfect cities, Europe is quietly seething. The tension is palpable, simmering just below the surface, ready to erupt at any moment. From the sunlit streets of Portugal to the bustling squares of Poland, people are taking to the streets in record numbers. They're furious, frustrated, and feeling ignored by those in power. Their voices echo through city centers, demanding to be heard. The Europe of our imagination is angry, and it's not just about one issue. It's a perfect storm of problems: economic uncertainty, rising costs of living, political disillusionment, and a sense that the systems people once trusted are no longer working for them. Decades of economic policies, sweeping social changes, and complex international agreements have built a tall, impressive tower, one that looked unshakable. But now, cracks are appearing. The tower is swaying, and people are starting to wonder if it might all come crashing down. In supermarkets, worried shoppers scan empty shelves and rising prices. On the streets, young adults hold protest signs, anxious about their futures and uncertain about what comes next. The trust that once held everything together is starting to fray. Tonight, we'll dig deep into why Europe is so ticked off, from the soaring cost of groceries to the uncertain future of farming, from housing crises to political upheaval. We'll go beyond the headlines and explore the real stories behind the anger, uncovering the truth about what's really happening beneath Europe's postcard-perfect surface. For decades, Europe was seen as the model of stability and prosperity, a continent that had learned from its turbulent past and built something remarkable. The phrase, "the good old days," often conjures up images of peaceful neighborhoods, thriving cities, and a sense of security that seemed unshakable. After the chaos and devastation of the early 20th century, 2 world wars, economic depression, and political upheaval, Europe rebuilt itself from the ground up. Cities rose from the rubble, borders opened, and nations came together to form the European Union. The introduction of a common currency, the euro, symbolized a new era of unity and cooperation. Economies grew rapidly, and the continent became a beacon of hope for peace and progress. A strong and confident middle class emerged, enjoying reliable jobs, affordable homes, and a robust social safety net. For many, it was a time when hard work paid off, and the future looked bright. Education was accessible, healthcare was universal, and the dream of upward mobility felt within reach for most families. Politics, too, felt predictable and safe. Power alternated between center-left and center-right parties, both of which were committed to democracy, social welfare, and the European project. There was a sense that, no matter who was in charge, the core values of society would be protected. Life was stable, and that was the point. People could plan for the future, raise families, and trust that tomorrow would be much like today, if not better. But over time, that golden era began to fade, replaced by uncertainty and anxiety about what lies ahead. The 2008 financial crisis shook the foundations of the European economy, exposing vulnerabilities that many thought had been left behind. The migrant crisis brought new challenges and divisions, while Brexit shattered the illusion of an ever-closer union. The COVID-19 pandemic emptied city streets and tested the resilience of societies across the continent. Each event chipped away at the sense of security that once seemed so solid. Today, the promise that each generation would be better off than the last feels more like a distant fairy tale than a guarantee. Young people face rising costs, job insecurity, and a future that feels less certain than ever before. Even established families worry about maintaining the standard of living their parents once enjoyed. Across Europe, people are mourning not just the loss of predictability and trust, but also the sense of shared purpose that once defined the continent. The golden image of Europe may be fading, but the longing for stability and hope remains as strong as ever. To understand Europe's anger, look at the shopping cart. Inflation has hit hard. Food, energy, and essentials have become unaffordable for millions. In some countries, energy bills doubled, forcing families to choose between heating and eating. Even in Germany, people hoarded firewood. In the UK, heat or eat became a grim reality. Wages haven't kept up, so every month paychecks buy less. The result? A grinding sense of insecurity and unfairness. People see corporations making record profits, while their own lives get harder. The social contract, work hard, live well, feels broken. This isn't just about money, it's about trust, dignity, and a system that seems rigged against ordinary people. Across Europe, farmers are blocking highways with tractors, making their anger impossible to ignore. Their costs, fuel, fertilizer, feed, are soaring, while supermarket giants push down the prices they get for their crops. Environmental regulations pile on, often without enough support, and trade deals let in cheaper imports that don't follow the same rules. Farmers feel squeezed from all sides, working harder for shrinking profits and facing bankruptcy. Their protests are about survival and respect, a demand to be heard by distant policymakers. They're saying, you can't have a green Europe or food security without farmers. It's a fight for the future of rural life, and there are no easy answers. The anger isn't just rural. Cities across Europe are erupting with frustration and unrest. From the bustling streets of Berlin to the historic avenues of Rome, people are pouring out of their homes and workplaces, demanding to be heard. The discontent is palpable, echoing through city squares and public spaces, as citizens unite in their call for change. In France, millions have taken to the streets to protest pension reforms, viewing them not just as policy changes, but as a direct attack on hard-won rights and the social contract that has defined French society for generations. The demonstrations are massive, with workers, students, and retirees marching side by side, their voices rising in unison against what they see as a betrayal by those in power. Meanwhile, in the UK, the National Health Service, once a symbol of national pride, is now struggling under immense pressure. Strikes by nurses and doctors have become more frequent, and patients face agonizingly long waits for care. The sense of crisis is growing, as both staff and patients feel let down by a system that seems to be crumbling. Across the continent, public services that were once reliable and efficient are now a source of daily frustration. Delays, underfunding, and declining quality have left many feeling abandoned. Whether it's waiting in endless lines at government offices or dealing with unreliable public transport, the sense of decline is hard to ignore. The housing crisis is hitting young people especially hard. Skyrocketing rents and a lack of affordable options are pushing an entire generation out of the market, fueling a deep sense of generational injustice. Many young adults feel that the dream of stable housing is slipping further out of reach, no matter how hard they work. In response, protests for rent controls and more social housing are growing louder and more organized. Activists and ordinary citizens alike are demanding urgent action from governments, insisting that everyone deserves a safe and affordable place to live. Across Europe, a growing number of people feel that the system no longer works for them. Disappointment and worry are etched on the faces of families, workers, and students alike. The call for systemic change is becoming impossible to ignore. The social fabric is fraying, and these protests are more than just outbursts of anger. They are a desperate call for a society that truly cares for everyone, not just the privileged few. People are demanding dignity, fairness, and a future where no one is left behind. The message is clear. It's about more than just money. It's about justice, solidarity, and hope for a better tomorrow. Immigration is a flashpoint in Europe's anger. Recent waves of migrants have strained resources in countries like Italy, Greece, and Germany, raising practical concerns about housing, schools, and healthcare. Far-right parties have exploited these anxieties, linking immigration to crime, unemployment, and cultural loss. For many, immigration becomes a symbol of a world changing too fast, fueling a deep divide. Governments are attacked from both sides, accused of being inhumane or too weak. The debate is no longer just about numbers, it's about identity. Who are we as a nation? What does it mean to be European today? The lack of answers has left a vacuum filled by anger and extremism. Europe's anger looks different everywhere. In France, protests are explosive, against pension reforms, government style, and more. Farmers blockade Paris, while riots flare in suburbs. In Germany, once stable, protests now target both far-right parties and government failures on the economy and bureaucracy. Italy's anger is aimed at both Brussels and Rome, with frustration over EU rules, cheap imports, and migration fueling right-wing populism. In Poland, protests have defended democracy and, more recently, targeted cheap grain imports. Sometimes the same country protests for and against the EU in the same year. The anger is complex, local, and deeply rooted in each nation's unique struggles. These issues aren't just headlines, they're personal. In Spain, families cut back on food as bills soar. In Ireland, young adults move back home, unable to afford rent. For Dutch farmers, new regulations threaten generations-old family farms. In small German towns, rapid change strains schools and healthcare, leaving locals feeling unheard. When people's daily lives are upended, hope turns to resentment. Feeling dismissed by elites only deepens distrust. It's these lived experiences, loss, stress, and powerlessness that turn policy debates into raw emotional conflicts. So, what's next? Europe faces a crossroads. The old muddle-through approach won't work. Public patience is gone. Political instability is rising, and far-right parties are gaining ground by offering simple answers and clear scapegoats. If mainstream leaders don't respond with real solutions, radical change could sweep the continent. But protests can also force positive reform. Already, farmers have pushed the EU to reconsider some policies. The lesson: leaders must listen and act on people's real struggles. Europe's future depends on whether this anger sparks renewal or spirals into deeper division.